All right. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. I have said that I am an alcoholic. Will any others present please raise their hands? All right, that's what I thought. Not to embarrass you, but to get to know you at the coffee break and after the meeting, will any newcomers in their first 60 days of sobriety please stand and give us your name and disease?
I'm an alcoholic.
Guy.
Maria, alcoholic.
Maria. Matt. Evan. Apollo. David. Welcome. Wait. What's your name back there, dude? All right. If there are any alcoholics visiting from outside the greater Los Angeles area, will you please stand and give us your name and tell us where you are from? Travis. Welcome. Dennis. All right. All right, welcome. And will the Al-Anons with us tonight please raise their hands? Hey. All right. We are glad you are here. Experience has shown that the AA program will work for any alcoholic who is sincere in his or her desire to stop drinking. The program for recovery is defined for us in Chapter 5 of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and is titled How It Works. Tonight, I have asked Houston to read that portion of Chapter 5, which contains our 12 steps to recovery.
Chapter 5, How It Works. Houston alcoholic? Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take take certain steps. At some of these we balked. We thought we could not find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol. Cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. But there is one that has all power, and that one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked for his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe in a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all of these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve the conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Many of us exclaimed, "What an order! I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles that we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear three pertinent ideas. A, that we are alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could relieve our alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if he were sought.
All right. The format for this meeting is a 10-minute speaker, our secretary's announcements, a coffee break and snack break, and our main speaker. The first speaker tonight is Mac. Hey.
Timer? Okay, cool. Awesome, perfect. Okay, Mac alcoholic. Hi, so I have a sponsor. My sponsor has a sponsor, and I've worked all 12 of the 12 steps. I sponsor one woman. My sobriety date is October 5th, 2020. So I was born the daughter of two alcoholics, and on both sides of my family, I have a lot of alcoholics. So like, that didn't make me an alcoholic, but it sure did not help. So I only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about recovery, but just since forever, I always felt different, and once I could get a hold of substances that made me feel a part of, I was all for it, and I was off to the races. And my my alcoholism took me through homelessness, took me through abusive relationship, and it took me all over the West Coast. And I thoroughly believe that if my addiction and my alcoholism hadn't been as bad as it was so early on, like I'm 24 and like I was homeless at 20 for 2 years. I don't think I would have gotten sober so early. And so for that, I'm thankful, because the life that I live today is truly beyond my wildest dreams. When I came into this program, I did not want to be sober at all, like at all. But I really did know that I wanted a better life for myself. I truly did. In me, I knew that like there was just like this hope and this like willingness to do whatever it took to figure out what that better life for myself looked like. And I ended up going to a sober living, which I absolutely hated at first. But all the things that like I was praying for, I didn't know that I was praying, but I was constantly searching for people that had like the same values as me, people that I could trust, people that were honest. And I found that through this program and through my sober living. And I stuck around. And the longer I stuck around and the more I worked the steps, I started to realize that all those things that I wanted, my higher power was going to give them to me exactly, but not in any way that I wanted it to be, you know? And I'm so thankful for that. So thankful for that. Through this program, I've repaired the relationships with my family. I have better friendships than I've ever had before. I'm somebody that you can trust. I'm somebody that's reliable. I'm somebody that loves like with all my heart. So if I care about you, I'm not going to care about you half-assed. And through this program, I've really gotten to address a lot of outside issues that were like definitely did not help my sobriety. And I'm super, super thankful for that. And I've also gotten to like follow my dreams. I'm not even sober 2 years yet, but from like the first day that I was sober, I was like, I want to go to art school. I want to be an artist. I've always been a very artistic person, but it wasn't until I got sober that I was able to like identify as that. And I knew where I wanted to go. And like my whole first year of sobriety was all like being sober and trying to like work the steps, and then also working on my art and my portfolio to go to school. And I actually, a few months ago, I got into not just the school that I wanted to get into, but I got into like 5 different schools, and I got really big scholarships from each one that I applied to. And I absolutely would not be able to do that without this program. And I have a really, really great relationship with my higher power today. My higher power has a hilarious sense of humor. There's never a glum moment with my higher power. I ask a question and they answer in the most absurd way. And it's like, I can't help but like know that it's not a coincidence. I had working the steps. I would say that the 5th step, doing my 5th step was really powerful. There were times that I was just sobbing with my sponsor, but the 9th step is absolutely my favorite step so far. And I have yet to take another woman all the way through the steps, but I had the opportunity, both of my parents are sober now, thank God, but I got the opportunity during the 9th step. The first amends that I made was to my mom. And we actually got to say our amends to each other at the like one right after the other, which was such like a beautiful and like such an amazing opportunity to have. And it's really not easy to be humble and to like, you know, give the amends, but every single time that I have, it's been an amazing, amazing experience. So I did every single one of my amends, I think except one, because they're in Washington, but I highly recommend making it to the 9th step. If you are stuck on the 4th step and the 5th step and you are loathing it, just push through, because the 9th step is truly like, the promises really do come true. Today I work as a nanny. Before, I've always adored kids, but you would not want to like trust me with your kids if you knew what I was really doing all the time. But like from here, I was just nannying twin 3-year-olds, which they can be absolute brats, but I absolutely adore them. And I'm actually able to like use some of the principles that I learned here and like pass them down to these little kids, which is kind of cool. Let's see. I recently had to break up with my boyfriend, and I was able to really show up in like a very positive way in that relationship. And it's actually like the best relationship that I've ever had. He was also sober. But I was also able to see that like through doing like my sex ideal, I was able to see that what I was bringing to this relationship, I was really happy with it, but I wasn't happy with how my significant other was showing up to the relationship. And it's not that he wasn't a great guy, but he just wasn't willing to really show up in love, which like to me, love is consistency in action. And that's what we're shown in this program. And because of that, and because of many talks that I had with him, I just knew that he wasn't going to be able to give me what I wanted. And this is like almost 2 weeks ago now, and I'm actually able to like stay sober through it. I have so many women that I can rely upon and like hang out with and show up for. Thank you. And I'm really proud of like how I can show up today in all my relationships. And on Wednesday, for one of my favorite people in the world, she had somebody that was really close to her pass away, and she's still in sober living. And it was in Portland, Oregon, and I was able to go with her and show up with her to that funeral, and really like be there for her in the best way that I could. And yes, it was an absolutely exhausting day, running on 4 hours of sleep for like 24 hours, but it was definitely worth it. And it's like a great memory to have, like somebody that, like, the fact that somebody was able to trust me to go with them to a funeral of somebody that I didn't even know, but when I was there, I was bawling, even though I didn't know the person, because I could just see how much this person meant to everybody. But yeah, I am really thankful to be here. And if you haven't worked the steps yet, or you're stuck on your 4th step, just wait and push through and show yourself that love by like being consistent and putting in the action, because it's really worth it. Everybody in here is worth it. I know you might not feel like it at this point in time, but it's true. And the people around you know that. We've all done some bad things, but it doesn't make us not worthy of this program. So if you have your seat, please hold on to it. The life I have, I never could have imagined. And I'm not even 2 years sober yet. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Mac. All right. So our 12 traditions are as important to AA unity and progress as are the 12 steps of recovery. Tonight, I've asked Robert to read the 12 traditions while we silently observe the 7th tradition. If any of you have court cards to be signed, please place them in the basket and pick them up at the podium after the meeting.
Robert, alcoholic. It's nerve-wracking up here. The 12 traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on AA unity. 2. For our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God as he may express himself in our group conscience. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. 3. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. 4. Each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. 5. Each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. 6. An AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. 7. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. 8. Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. 9. AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. 10. Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. 11. Our public relation policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. And anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
Welcome to the Sanctuary Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Julie, and I'm an alcoholic and your secretary. Hey. In naming our meeting Sanctuary, we mean it to be a safe place, a retreat, and a refuge where we can each personally observe the 11th tradition. Our group endeavors to provide a safe meeting place for all attendees and encourages each person here to contribute to fostering a secure and welcoming environment in which our meetings can take place. Therefore, we ask that group members and others refrain from any behavior which might compromise another person's safety. And this direction comes directly from GSO in New York. At the end of the meeting, the speakers will be up front. Please line up to my right to thank them. Smoking is not permitted in Manhattan Beach. Therefore, this is a non-smoking meeting, and that includes vaping is considered smoking here at the church. We remind everyone that we are guests at this location and very lucky to be here. Please respect the no smoking rule. Restrooms are located to my right and up the ramp. The women's is a little further up the ramp from the men's. And of course, there's one restroom right outside that door. Please keep the noise down in respect for the neighbors. The gates will be closed and locked by 9:30 p.m., if not sooner. As soon as we have cleaned up, we lock up. If you go to fellowship after the meeting, please be sure to move your car out of the parking lot. It will be locked in and you won't be able to get it until tomorrow. And I might have a message coming in the chat. Let me see. Court cards will be signed and can be picked up after the meeting. It takes a lot of people to make our meeting happen. At this time, I would like to ask everyone that participates to please raise their hand. Yay. Thank you. Not very many people over here. There must be people over there, just didn't raise their hands. Okay, you are much appreciated. We will now have a literature announcement by Andy.
Andy Alcoholic. Andy. We have literature. It's all on the table adjacent to the copy. Pamphlets in the racks are free for the taking. The books we sell at our cost. Big books, 12 and 12. Go back and take a look. If there's something you need and you don't see it there, let me know and I'll get it.
Thanks, Andy. And grapevine announcement, Kaylee.
Haley Alcoholic. We have grapevines over on the literature table. They are great reads. It's like an AA pocketbook. And we do have a lending line. If any of you guys would like to borrow one, you may. Just please make sure that you bring it back at the next meeting. And with that, I have a joke for you. So, an alcoholic alien crash lands his flying saucer next to a bar. He walks in and tells the bartender to take me to your liter.
Thank you, Kaylee. We are not a glum lot. And now, audio announcement, Merrill.
Hey, Merrill Alcoholic. Well, once again, we have the opportunity to honor Kimberly McKenzie and our program because we've recorded them. And if you want, with a $2 donation, contribution, we like to call it contribution. It's not necessary, but it's certainly welcomed. We'd have to keep this thing going, and it does cost. We bought this brand new, so that's the kind of thing we're talking about. I have a book. It looks like this. It will be up there right in front of DJ over there. DJ, wave your hand. He's been doing wonderful work. And you can sign your name, email, and your contact number. In case we can't get through the email, we'll have a way to get a hold of you. Thank you so much for letting me be of service.
Let's see, I don't think I have either a treasurer, GSR, or CSR. Our treasurer still has health issues, but he will be coming back. I spoke to him this evening. And let's see, so I would like to thank Cody for leading tonight's meeting, and Mac McKenzie for leading that great 10-minute pitch. We do not celebrate birthdays at this meeting. However, we do honor them by having those people observing their AA anniversary stand starting on my left, declaring audibly their name and the number of years sober. Yay, Keith. All right, Frankie. Okay, great. Happy birthday. And it is suggested, per the AA pamphlet, the AA group, that some members celebrate their AA anniversaries by donating a gratitude gift. Some members donate $1 per year sobriety. And we have a blue birthday basket up there just for that purpose. Half goes directly to General Services in New York, half to central office. We would like to welcome the newcomers who identified themselves, and especially those who did not, out-of-town guests, and our Al-Anons. When you hear the bell at the end of the break, please promptly take your seat, and thank you for letting me be of service.
Okay. Ew, dude. Your announcement. Ew, dude. Dude. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Okay, before I announce our speaker, somebody handed me some teeth. If anybody's missing some teeth, come see me after the meeting. Really? Okay. Anyways, all right. Now our main speaker will share his or her experience, strength, and hope with us. Please welcome me in joining Kimberly.
Hi, I'm Kimberly, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm sorry for anybody that had to wait. There was a literal fire on Lincoln. I mean, what are the chances of that happening? I guess, I came with nothing prepared, because I think that's the best share, is when you just let the words come to you, and that way it's not my will. But I think I did come up with some talking points, like delusion, and that this thing wouldn't have been different any other way, no matter what I did. So to start, I have a sobriety date of January 31st, 2019. So I have 3 years and some change. I have a sponsor. I love so much, and I have 2 sponsees, and I am working the steps for the second time. I went to a sober living, which I understand is not part of everybody's story, but it's part of mine. I grew up here in Hawthorne, which is kind of close, and I've been here my whole life. And I grew up with a single mom and a brother. And my mom, she didn't make a lot of money, but somehow she got me every single thing I ever wanted. And when I was maybe in like 1st or 2nd grade, my mom had told me I had to pick a sport to do. She said I had to pick something, because my brother had picked basketball, so I needed to find something too. And so I ended up trying a few different things. I tried water polo, swimming, I did ice skating, Girl Scouts, art, karate, volleyball, soccer, and I didn't like any of it. I didn't like one thing. And I was constantly butting heads with my mom because she really wanted me to do just one thing. And I eventually ended up picking swim, because you can't sweat in a pool. And I had a teacher of mine had coached the team, so it just seemed like the best option. So I ended up doing it, and I did it from being in second grade until 11th. And I was part of this private swim team. And along the way, my mom had decided that I was going to go to El Segundo High School because they have like a really great swim team. And I was going to swim there and get a scholarship and go to college. And so I ended up having to go to the middle school there just to make the transition sooner rather than later. So I ended up going, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know one person. And when I walked in there, I was, I'm obviously Hispanic, and there was like all these pretty little white girls. And I was like, I felt like so different. All the other girls were so pretty. I have dark eyes, they had light eyes. I have dark hair, they had light hair. And I was completely out of place. And I felt so ugly and just so lost. And I'm still doing swim this whole time. So I'm just hating my life. And I remember I had one friend I made, her name was Kayla. And I began to hang out with her, and I remember one time we went to her house, and she had told me, like, let's sneak into my parents' basement and, like, let's grab it was like a seasonal, some kind of Halloween-flavored beer. And so I was like, okay. And so we did, and then we went down, and then we did it, and then she was like, oh, my God, we have to go upstairs, like, I don't know when my parents are coming. And I was like, okay. And so I remember we got to drink it, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like that's so crazy and so risky, we got to do it again. And I remember at the time I was like, well, I can't do it, against her because then it'll just end badly. It was the people pleasing came out in me. It's like they'd get so mad, so I didn't. And then I ended up drinking again, and by then I had probably moved into high school, and I can't remember things chronologically or like things by year. Some people can say like I did that thing in 2012. I worked at that job in 2015. I think that's like elite brain function, and I can't think of stuff like in that order. So a lot of it is just how I remember it, but I don't actually remember any ages. And so I remember when I was in high school, I start drinking, I start doing weird stuff, I start getting looks in the hallway, and I keep doing it every weekend. And I remember I decided to switch into a different group, it's an outside issue because I thought that it would be like more manageable than getting drunk. So I transitioned into that group, and it didn't pan out that well, and by 11th grade my mom said, do whatever you want, and I got to quit swim, and I was so happy. And I had originally had a dream of going to the University of Oregon, and that didn't happen. I ended up going to El Camino Community College, and I was there for probably half of the school year, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't show up. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and it was just a lot more fun to go over there and get loaded. And so at this point, my mom has like some kind of, she has her reins on me, but it's also like getting a little past her control. And eventually it's progressing, and I'm just doing things that are questionable. And it's like, every time that it would happen, I somehow shoved it away. And I started going to the hospital more, and I was having more accidents that would end in like stitches and, just things. And I kept thinking to myself, what a bad week, what a bad month. I thought I've been having a tough year. And I never correlated, I just thought, whoa, that's so strange. And I had, I remember I I was bouncing through different groups of friends, and at the time I thought all these people were like such good people. I was like, oh my God, this girl Kelly, like she's my ride or die, you know? She's not. I've never heard from her again in sobriety. Like I had all these friends I went through that I really thought would have been good friends, and they weren't. They were just party friends. And I was 21 when I got sober. So I had legally been drinking for like less than a year, I think. And I had just hit somewhere so dark because I knew that I'm starting to catch up with myself of like, okay, there's something that's going wrong. You know, I keep doing these things and I don't know why it's happening. And so then I started to try and do things to cancel that out. So I would spend all of my money in one place, and so that I wouldn't have any to buy anything. But you can always buy something if you know how to scrounge up and like you can do anything. And so I remember I picked up another job as well, thinking if I like use up my time, then I can't get loaded. And I remember I was sitting in this store wasted, just with my head down, couldn't count the quarters or close the register. And it's like everything, it just kept backfiring. So then I decided I'm gonna do walks, you know? And so I thought exercise would change something for me. And so I started taking the family dog, Caesar, on a walk. And there's these yellow poles outside of the liquor store I started attaching him to. And I would go in there and I would buy something and we'd start the walk that way. And it's just like, holy, you know, wow, it just keeps backfiring. And then I remember I knew a guy at work that was sober, and he had talked to me something about AA. And so I remember I liked him so much. I was like, oh, okay, I'll try that. You know, you go to that? And so then I was like, sure. And he never went with me, you know, 'cause he was a good guy, you know. He's like, you go with a woman, you know. And I thought, damn. And I remember I start going, and then I would pop in every once in a while when I'd get really low, then I'd go. And I couldn't ever last, and I was probably drunk in those meetings more often than not. And I remember when I got really low, he had given me advice of like, because I had came into work and I couldn't even use the knife and a fork to like cut the steak. I didn't know how. My hands didn't work, and it was just weird. And I remember he was like, God, you know, like, what are you on? And I was like, nothing. And he was like, he's like, you got to go to a meeting, and he said, you got to find a woman that you trust or something like that, and ask her what to do and do exactly what she says. And so I thought, okay. So I remember I went and I talked to this woman, and after the meeting I found her, and she looked really nice, and she was just sitting there, and I asked her, can I sit here and talk to you? And I did, and I had told her everything. I just told her everything that had been happening. And she had leaned over the table and she had said, I'm not supposed to tell you this. She's like, but it sounds like you're an alcoholic. And I thought, told her too much too soon. I thought, told her way too much. I unloaded too quickly, and now I got to talk to somebody else. And so I remember she had given me her number, and I never called. And I find myself now that I'm like, I know that I'm in a bad place, and my legs are still taking me to the liquor store. And at this point, I had started becoming really violent and really vicious. And it was like it became a norm that my hair was like matted to the back of my head. I was wearing the same clothes I had pissed in, and I was coming for my parents because they were the only ones that would have anything to do with me anymore. And I'm not really sure why. I mean, I knew I was angry, but I don't know why I was coming at them that way. And each time that it would happen, I would shove it away. But secretly, I knew it was 8 times that I had came for them in a way that they had to restrain me with my clothes and like tie my hands behind my back and then tie my feet and then leave me face down till I calmed down. And each time this would happen, I shoved it away. It's like it didn't happen. And as it keeps progressing, I started accumulating more injuries. And so at one point I had ripping my hands out of this knot. I had popped 3 blood vessels in my eyes. And then I had dropped my phone in a way that just scraped the top of my nose. And I had fell into a vending machine. And then I had fallen into a bedside table. So I had stitches, red exploded eyes, and this scrape across my nose. And I think I had a canker sore from like, and I remember Googling and it says it's from stress, you know? And I just looked crazy. I looked really crazy. And the worst part was I was working as a hostess, you know, like the face of a restaurant. And I remember I was, you know, because when you can't see yourself, it's different. So I remember like thinking if I was like, you know, like kind of looking down, nobody would be able to see it. But it's so blank across the face. And I had a couple managers mention, you know, like, is everything okay at home? And I had someone tell me, and I really liked this one guy. He was just a really nice guy. So when he told me it looked like I needed help, that one, it really hurt me. It just felt really bad. And so after all of this and all of these meltdowns, my mom was looking for places online for me to go to. And I think I had said something to her like, you know, I'll only go if they accept me in the next hour. Because if they accept me in the next hour, then I'm going to be medicated for when this comes down. And she had never found a place that took me in the next hour, you know. And so I never went. And I remember I used to tell her, I'm going to get it together. I was like, I'm so young. I'm just learning how. And I think that she really just wanted to believe that. And she kept picking me up from random places. And I remember when she'd pick me up, I'd be so mad for no reason. And then I eventually got to a point where I remember laying on the floor of the shower and I was just crying. And I thought, I've got to kill myself. There's no other way out of this one. I've hurt so many people. And I've just made a complete and total ass of myself. And I remember I had, all I could afford at the time were these like airplane singles. And I had them lined up on the side of the shower. And I thought, well, I can't kill myself yet. I'm gonna drink and then I'll be able to do it after. And that was the only thing keeping me going. If I didn't have those little airplane bottles, I don't know what would have happened. And so at this point, I flip out on my parents one more time, and my mom says, she said, when I came to, my stepdad had given me a cup of black coffee, and he was like rubbing my face, and he told me, it's going to be okay, you know. And my mom said, I thought you were going to kill me. She said, I thought you were going to grab a knife and kill me. And so I thought, that's not true. And she was saying, I'm so scared of you. And she said, you're going to have to go. And she said, you have to go because the next time this happens, I'll have to call the cops. And she said, and it will happen again. And I thought, really? Like, I never saw her actually doing it. She had threatened it before to make me go, but she never actually did it. And my stepdad, who was always there, and he always had my back, he was like, you gotta go. And my mom went to Home Depot and she bought locks the same day. Like, she wasn't kidding. And so I remember I thought, okay, this is like the end of the line. And so I must have gotten loaded because I don't remember anything after. And maybe I went with a boyfriend. I don't know. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to go to a meeting one more time. And so then I remember I went and I saw a woman speak, and she said she had gotten sober when she was 21, something like that. And that really spoke to me because I was that age. And so I thought, okay, like, that's something. And I remember I told her afterwards, hey, I really liked your share. And she had said, what's your number? I'll call you. And I thought, why would you want, you know what? You don't know me. Why would you want to talk? I didn't say that. We just exchanged numbers, but I thought that's so strange. And I eventually called her and I told her everything. I told her everything like a confessional. I told her everything that had happened and everything I did that made me feel so badly. And she had said, me too. Yeah. And I was like, what? You know, that's crazy. Like, that went over my head, like, you too. And she had mentioned to me, you have a God-shaped hole and you have an obsession. And I thought, yeah, I do. Yeah, that sounds about right. And she was like, and it's funny in hindsight, we hear this stuff all the time now, but when I first heard it, I still remember how I felt. I was like, wow. And so we talked a bit more, and I had told her, you know, my mom kicked me out. And she was like, well, you should look into sober living. You know, if you're going to go somewhere, instead of finding just a place to live, why don't you go to sober living? So I thought, okay. And then I remember I Googled it, and it was just strange because my mom had never seen it before the time she searched, and I saw there was a place here in Manhattan Beach. And so I thought, that is so weird. Oh, but prior to that, I remember I saw another one that was in Torrance, something like that. And I called, and somebody answered, and then they said something like, okay, so what's going on? And I said everything, again, just like I had told the other woman. I just spit it all out. And they said, oh, is this for you or for a loved one? And I said, it's for me. And he said, I'm so sorry, this is a men's facility. And I thought, oh no. And he said, I'm going to give you a number. Wait, I'm going to give you a number and you call it. And I thought, no. I mean, I'm not going to do that again. And then I don't know what it was. I decided to call the number. And I got connected to this guy, and he sounded really nice. And he told me he would meet me on, I think I toured on a Monday. And I got in on a Wednesday. And I thought, okay. And I had to take an Uber because I couldn't drive. There was no car. I didn't have much. And I remember I took an Uber and I went and I met this guy and I toured this place and I thought, and there's all these girls sitting on the island, like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and, I thought, and then I ended up talking to somebody alone, and I thought, okay, like, I guess I could do it, I remember I went outside, away from the girls that were living there, and they asked something, okay, so, like, what's going on? And I just burst into tears, and I said, it's getting so bad. That's all that I could say, because it felt like so much, and I felt so ugly, and I felt so ashamed of the things that I had done that led me to that point, and I thought, I'll never tell anyone. I'll never tell anybody why I'm coming here, just that I have a problem, with alcohol, obviously. And I got in on a Wednesday, and I remember I told my mom because I wanted to tell her to have, kind of like when something happens, you want to call your mom and you want that comfort of telling her. So I remember I told my mom, I said, I found this place, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to go. And she said, I'll support you. And I thought, really? And she said, yes. And so then I remember that day she let me come and she let me get my stuff together. And just clothes, a laundry basket, and stuff like that. And she had told me, I'm going to go to Costco, I think I didn't have to go maybe till later in the day. and she had said, I'm going to go to Costco. And I thought to myself, great. And I'm a visual thinker, so the first thing I thought was liquor store as soon as you're gone. And then, but at the same time, I'm battling thoughts of like, oh, God, you know, it's gotten so bad. I feel like so bad. And I'm still going to go do this thing at the same time. And so she never left because maybe she sensed, you know, that I don't know, she just didn't go. So then I remember when it's getting closer to the time, I had told her, oh, you know, I have to go to the bathroom. And so then I was in the bathroom, walking in and out, kind of pacing, thinking, okay, do I go do this? And then my mom has the laundry basket, and she's like in the doorway, and she's saying like, come on, you know? And then I was like, okay, I just have to go to the bathroom one last time. And so I did. And I went inside, and I don't even know. There was no thought. It was just doing. I started chugging this Costco-sized thing of Listerine, and I was chugging it down, and it burned on the way down. But I remember telling myself, just hold it in there and swallow your vomit so it could soak the intestines for a couple seconds. And so I remember just swallowing and then throwing it up in my mouth and swallowing it back down and thinking, just hold it so it can soak in there. And eventually I left. I think I got enough of a good feeling, and I got in the car and I left. and I went to sober living. And I thought it was so strange because it was my mom dropped me off, you know, and she's like, okay, and she had met the manager facilitator, and she left. And it was like, I felt like such a little girl, like a summer camp experience. You just you dropped off. And so then I remember I walked into what was going to be my bedroom, and I sat on the edge of the bed, and I looked around, and I thought, oh, like, what did I get myself into? And it just seemed so, like, bleak and bare. It reminded me of when I was a little girl, and I felt like, I remember I was so small, I couldn't see over into the window of a car, and I used to think that the world looked so gray and so sad. And I just felt probably the lowest I've ever felt. And I just stayed. And then I had a roommate, and she was so sweet to me. And she was like the first person I decided to befriend and tell her stuff. Because I was, remember, I'm so embarrassed. I'm keeping my story to myself. Nobody's going to know what landed me here because that's way too ugly, and nobody's going to get it, and they're going to think I'm a freak. And I remember when we would, like, these other girls would share, like, I passed out, you know, and then, like, for the 10th time, and I'm here. And I thought, that is so much prettier than what got me here. And it's like, even then, I'm still picking and choosing what would make me look better. And just completely delusional. And I remember thinking, I'm going to go. At some point, I decided I'm going to go. And I was at the, it's called outpatient. And I was at the end of a hall, and I decided I'm going to go. And so I remember I just decided, and I'm walking down, and the owner of the whole shebang comes out and is like, where are you going? And I thought, oh. And I ended up talking to him, and I broke down in tears. And he's like, wait. He's like, I'm going to grab somebody for you. And he ends up pushing somebody else in. And then he left. And I was like, and I told her, I don't remember who it was. And then I remember I came back to the house, and I sat outside on the brick ledge. I never left. You know, I only made it to the brick ledge. And then I thought, do I stay or do I go? And then I thought, it's all out here. I was on the street. I was like, I could go anywhere I want to go. And my mom, I don't remember how I got the message. My mom said I'm not allowed back, and that she's changed the lock. So that's like, that plan's out. And so I stayed. And somewhere after I had started working with a sponsor, and I was doing the third step with her, and she had taken me to the beach, which was like a big deal if you get to go out with someone alone. And we did the third step together, and I don't know why, but to me, the third step meant that there was a plan in place and that I didn't have to worry about anything. It just came up in me and it popped up in my head, and that's what I thought it was. And I remember I was so happy. I was like, I'm going to be okay. Obviously I'm going to have to take the action where it's needed, but there's something in place for me, and I'm going to be all right. So I decided to stay, and I ended up staying for 18 months, and I committed to 3. I ended up staying 18, and they had asked me to work there, which was like a very big deal for me because it meant that they liked what I was doing. They liked what I stood for. They liked what I was emulating, and it was a real, it was validation that I was doing something right. And so I worked there, and it changed my sobriety. It was really, really, really cool. And somewhere along the way, I decided that I didn't want to do, I think I had left the house, and I thought, I'm going to do what I want, and I'm not going to go to meetings, and I'm not going to call my sponsor, and I'm going to do me, and I'm going to see what happens. And I was so miserable. I don't remember how long it lasted. I remember I was at the post office, and maybe this has been going on for, let's call it like maybe a few weeks. And they had said something to me like, you have to write the label on that wall and bring it over here. And I was like, okay. And so I make it over here, and like, there are no pens. And they're like, well, come and get one, And I thought, geez. And I remember I got one, and then I go back, and they're like, that's not the right paper. And I thought, God. And I felt like tears coming out. And I thought, I'm going to drink today. I thought, I'm going to go down the hill, and I'm going to go drink today. And it was that. It was a post office worker doing their job that made me feel like I need to take a drink today. And in the direction I was going, if you make a right, there was the house. And I decided, I'll make a right. And I went to the house, and I remember I went and I talked to some people that were there, and I said the truth about what was going on, that I wasn't doing anything, so it's not like it just came out of the blue. And I didn't drink. And I kept going, and I started going to meetings again, and I talked to my sponsor. And then in my life today, I'm an intern at 2 interior design firms, and I work for free, but I work as if I'm getting paid. I work hard. I also am doing school for AutoCAD, and my life is completely different from what it used to be. I have a relationship with my parents. I show up for people even when I don't want to. I wasn't going to come speak at this event. I was not, because I keep Saturdays for myself, and I thought, I've got to go and do it, because my sponsor had said something to me about, instead of saying that you love AA, you show it, and you show up and you speak. So I thought, okay, and I texted back, I can do it. And today I didn't want to go to a memorial for a really good friend. And I went, and it was great to see her parents. And her mom asked me if I would mention her in my share. And I said, of course I would. And she was the funniest girl and also the weirdest girl. She hated eggs, avocado, and milk. She was so strange. And she was a vegan. She was a great, great girl. And she showed me so much. And she had told me that God can just be the wind going through trees. And I didn't know that it could be that. And when she told me that, I thought, wow, it really can be whatever you want it to be. And she helped me get through so much, and she was always there. She didn't have one mean bone in her body. She was never mean to anybody. And so I guess what I want to leave here today is that if you're new and you feel like what you have that you're carrying with you is so ugly, it's not, and it'll be okay. If you tell somebody, they're probably going to say, me too. And you can have a life beyond your wildest dreams. I mean, I'm not making money right now, so I'm stressed, but I'm still fine. I'm still happy, and I'm still sober. I've been coming into, some little issues like the fire today, and I mean, I'm not thinking about drinking, I come into some situations. I was feeling really, really low these past few weeks. I actually lied, and I told my work I was sick for 2 days, and I wasn't. I just couldn't get up. And I ended up telling my psychiatrist, and I asked for help. I asked him what I should do, and he sent me on the right way. And I'm better now. I'm on the way to being how I usually feel. I guess that's really what I wanted to say, is that there's nothing that you have that can be too ugly, and that the friends that I have here are for life, and they're the same people that tell me what to do today, the right thing, and that's why I'm here and I'm speaking. It wouldn't be if there weren't any people here, I wouldn't have what I have today, and that's why I need to freely give it back the way it was given to me. And I guess that's really it. Thank you for my life.
All right, I would like to thank our speakers, Mac and Kimberly, and our readers, Houston and Robert. This is a large meeting, and we encourage participation, especially if you are new. Being of service is a way we are able to give back to the group that which has been so freely given to our sobriety. We need 8 volunteers to help with cleanup. May I see some hands, please? All right, cool, because the binder says I need to see 8 hands. All right, so we now have an announcement from our cleanup chairperson, Chuck. Hey.
We need to stack the chairs 10 high, and then we're going to take 3 stacks outside, and I'm going to need some help in the kitchen too, so if I can get 2 people to raise their hand, go to the kitchen, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chuck. Court cards. Thank you, Chuck. All right, court cards are signed and may be picked up at the podium after the meeting. And now, after a moment of silent meditation for the alcoholic who still suffers, please stand and join me in the Serenity Prayer.
Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Keep coming back. It works if you work it.